Hi, I'm Mike Thomas, President of Kiwi Indian Motorcycle Company. We're going to go through the starting procedure of an Indian motorcycle. This particular one is a 1947 Chief, but the procedures we're going to go through are going to be applicable to all V-twin models. This particular one has our Kiwi electric starter fitted to it, but we'll also cover the kick-starting method as well. We'll go through some of the parts of the motorcycle. The very first thing I want you to understand is the clutch. This is going to be your safety mechanism. This is the clutch pedal. Forward is disengaged. Then you just rock it back slowly to take off. So don't just start taking off and like that. Just gradually ease it back. Now, this is the safety. Just want you to clearly understand that if anything should go wrong, any panic situation, anything at all, push the toe down. Now the transmission motor is disengaged from each other and you have full control of the motorcycle. Because in a panic situation, people leave the clutch down, they're trying to brake, things going on. Too many things going on, and panic takes over. So in any situation where you're not sure, panic starts setting in, what do I do? Disengage the clutch. Don't worry about the ignition switch, don't worry about anything else. Disengage the clutch. Now you've gained full control of the motorcycle. Ignition switch all the way to the left is off. One click is ignition, 2 clicks is ignition and lights. Always start your motorcycle with just the ignition on. That way, if you do have trouble starting, it's not draining down your battery unnecessarily. So always start your bike with just the ignition on, which would be 1 click. Ammeter, speedometer, high-low switch for your high-low beam, horn button, front brake lever, left-hand shift, that means you'll have a right-hand throttle, and a left-hand spark advance and retard. This is a steering dampener, and you'll generally use this on roads that have got grooves in it or steel grated bridges. Certain tires will track worse than others, especially tires that have got a wide or radial center groove running around them. Zigzag tread patterns, generally not as much. So you'll know when it's time to use that. The bike will be real squirmy, like you've got a flat tire or two, maybe even 2 flat tires. But just tighten this down. To the right is tight, to the left is undoing it. You'll feel it's got no tension on it there. And you'll feel it take up tension, and then you just apply gradual tension from there. But once you get it back on smooth roads, back it off. The steering dampener mechanism is down here. It's got friction plates. That's the bottom side of it. Mirror is always important. It's a good safety item. Just know what's going on around you, whether you got 1 mirror or 2 mirrors. Clutch, disengaged, engaged all the way down. Make sure that you got free play. So you should have a little bit of free play on the heel before it takes up. You'll feel the tension come on. Right there it's loose. Actually on this one, starts taking up there. You can see on the heel, that's important. There's your rear brake. Make sure it's properly adjusted. And make sure you got a good stop light, brake light. Check all your linkages for cotter pins at all these points, all over the motorcycle. Safety is job one. Your life rides on two wheels. Make sure you got good tires, the right air pressure in them, brake cables in good condition. This particular bike has our Kiwi electric starter on it, and it's got a faux kickstarter on it. So we're going to go through the starting procedure of this one, then we'll do a kickstart one. Fuel petcock off, on the way till it's in line. It's in line with the fuel line. Off. Oil. Make sure it's down at least an inch from the top of the return tube. If you've got the Kiwi filter, the Kiwi oil filter, it's about an inch down from the top of the filter. Fuel, 1.5 gallons on the right hand side. Fuel, left tank, 2 gallons. Do not fill them all the way up to the top. Stop before you get to the top, maybe at least half an inch. I like to be about an inch. That way none of it's going to slosh out. Here we have a bike with a Kiwi oil filter in it. You can actually write the mileage of your oil change and the date as well, so you can keep track of it. I like to start writing on my left tank. It holds 2 gallons. So if I'm getting 80 miles on my left tank, I know I'm getting 40 miles to the gallon. Or if I'm getting 70 miles, I'm getting 35 miles to the gallon. And that allows me to easily figure out what my range is on my right tank, which is 1.5 gallons. This is your left side petcock. On, off. Choke lever, all the way up is off, all the way down is on. The starting we want to be just a little bit off. Before starting a bike, always know where your fire extinguishers are. You know, shit can go wrong. Just need to deal with it. Know where your fire extinguishers are. This bike has a left-hand shift lever. Therefore, it's going to have a right-hand throttle. And it's going to work the same way as any normal motorcycle. It's going to have because it's got a left-hand shifter, it's going to have a left-hand spark advance and retard. So this is, we're fully retarded, fully advanced, retarded, advanced. So for starting, you're going to be fully retarded, and you're going to retard it when you're in low revs, poor gas situation when you're riding. But generally for riding, you're going to be fully advanced. You'll hear the motor pinging if you got some bad gas or heavy loads, and you just retard it just a little bit. But for normal riding, just have it fully advanced. Be fully retarded for starting. We have a look across at the distributor. Fully advanced, fully retarded. Advanced, advanced, retarded. For safety purposes, do not start your motorcycle indoors. Always start them outdoors. Turn the petcock on. Choke with a Kiwi electric starter is just going to be 2 notches down. It turns the motor over faster and more times than with a Kickstarter, so all it needs is 2 notches down. The spark advance and retard should be all the way retarded. So it's all the way that way for starting. Just give it a little bit of throttle, just a tad of throttle. Clutch is going to be fully engaged, and make sure you are in neutral. So fully engaged on the clutch, and then rock the bike backwards and forwards just to make sure you are in neutral before kicking or engaging the electric starter. Turn the ignition on 1 notch. Press the electric starter button. Once the bike is started, take the choke all the way off. If it's really cold out, you might need it a notch down, maybe 2. Not on the electric starter, but we'll go through the motions on a kickstart. But get the choke off as quick as you can. Sometimes the bikes will sort of start choking themselves, you know, coughing and spluttering. Just make sure the choke's off and then rev the throttle. It'll clean it out. They're a very simple carburetor, very effective carburetor, but they tend to load up when they're cold, or some can load up when they're cold. So just blip the throttle a few times, it'll clear itself out. Now once the bike starts up, you can advance the spark, which is this way. When you're riding, you're generally fully advanced. Sometimes when you're going up a hill or you get bad gas, you'll actually hear the motor knocking, pinging and banging, carrying on. It's very audible, you'll hear it. Just retard the spark a little bit. So once you got your bike started, you're going to put it into gear. You want to be retarded on the spark. You want the throttle idling down as low as possible. So you're retarded on the spark. You want the motor idling down as low as possible. Depress the clutch. And then put her into first gear. Most models, the first gear is forward. So put it into gear. Don't muck around on that. Some clutches, well, stock Indian clutches, some of the aftermarket clutches on the market don't release properly. That's why we come out with our Kiwi easy release clutch. So you don't have any big deal grinding into first gear. Indians are notorious for grinding into first gear. But just have the engine idling down as low as possible. And then depress your clutch. And then just stick it in first gear. If your clutch is one of those that grinds, don't pussy around, just get it and shove it into first gear. You won't do any harm to the, well, over a period of time you will do some harm to the gears, but they're actually designed to take a hell of a lot of use and abuse. So just don't pussy around when it comes to putting it into first gear if you do have a dragging clutch. Until you get real familiar with Indians, I would advise starting out riding in an open parking lot or a street with hardly anybody on it, preferably nobody on it, and certainly have nothing in front of you. So when you're taking off, you're practicing your foot clutch, rocking it, taking off. You want to not have anything around, not anything that you can run into. So I'd advise a good clear spot. That way you can put it in gear, practice your takeoffs. You're not worried about any interaction with other cars, other traffic. But just enjoy it. This is the kickstart procedure, which is basically the same as the electric starter as far as clutch, shifter, being in neutral, spark, advance and retard. But the choke position is going to be different. The choke is all the way down, one notch up, off. It's going to be all the way down and one notch up. There's another way that the factory do it, and a lot of guys do it. This method has worked good for me for 35 years. I like this method. There's no way that you could flood the motor, so it's going to work pretty well flawlessly every single time. So you're in neutral, you rock the bike backwards and forwards, clutch is engaged, you're all the way retarded, in this way. You're going to turn the ignition on, one click. You've got the choke down 2 notches from top. This is the Kiwi mic method. Generally, from that point on, if your bike is in good tune, it's going to take, it'll be on the 3rd kick, your bike will fire up. Once it fires up, get the choke off. You want to get the choke off as soon as you can. Otherwise the motor tends to bog down and flood out. So in this case, the bike is warm. The choke is all the way off right now because we're warm. We're retarded. Just a little bit of throttle. Get the Kickstarter and push it down until you feel you're up on compression. Now we're up on compression. Bring the Kickstarter all the way back up and give it all you got. The spark is retarded, ignition on, engine's warm, just a little bit of throttle, bring it up on compression, take another swig at it. Always make sure your standard is up. That's a big safety thing. Always make sure double and triple check the standard up. Spark is retarded. The engine is idle as low as it can go. The brake, the clutch. We're going to go here. Advance the spark. All the way this way. Give it some throttle. And you're going to gradually rock the clutch. Take off. Just to clarify the choke position when starting the motorcycle cold, with a Kickstarter, choke is going to be all the way down, 1 notch up. With the electric starter, all the way off, 2 notches down. As soon as it starts, take it all the way off. And there you have it. Now you can go and enjoy your ride on your Indian.